Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bunnies on BZCast. I'm your host, Randy. This is, in fact, the final episode. It is September in the year 2019. If you follow Bunnies on Facebook, which is, I'm assuming, the only way you're listening to this, it's a good way to start the show. I posted months ago that I was going to be doing one final recording. I've had maybe 3 or 4 attempts, and a couple of things have gone wrong. I was actually trying to queue up this episode just now after I put my notes down, and the sound player wouldn't work. It just was giving me these error messages. I'm dealing with a super old laptop that I might use 2-3 times a year. You could do just everything off your phone these days. So, Bunny Zine. If you're listening to this, you're a fan of Bunny Zine, thank you for supporting us. If you don't know anything about the podcast, well, we've had, I think it's like well over 30 episodes. We had a plan back in, December or January to do weekly episodes. It just didn't work out. And I didn't know where to go from there. I kind of before I get into things, definitely make sure you guys download the monthly e-magazine. Dustin had just posted that he might not get the October one out in time, but still definitely support us. All of that stuff really, really helps out. If you could share it, if you could download it, we really appreciate it, guys. So the podcast, holy cow. Before I get into how it was, the reason for my final recording is I'm just out of the loop in what's going on. The podcast was based around not reporting news, but bringing up news stories and expanding on it. Like, this podcast started right when the whole food situation started. Was going on. And I don't know, that was, 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. So it sucked what those bunnies were going through with Whole Foods, and they eventually made the right decision. But at that time, there was a lot to talk about. It was an ongoing story in the bunny community. It just felt like the right time to start and educate people that might not, be a part of this community, that, have never adopted a rabbit before, to show their importance and why, they're so important to us, as if, a member of the family, like a dog or a cat, would be to another person who's never adopted a bunny before. So I'm just out of the loop in what's going on. Like, I used to see stories all the time that would come through my newsfeed, and I do see them now because of Iris. She does an amazing job for Bunny Zine posting that stuff. But outside of that, I really don't see that much anymore. So I don't know, what's going on. Sometimes I'll see stuff, and I'm still on personally doing Twitter, but I'm not really posting ever. I'm just looking up, following news stories. Facebook's algorithm, if you could call it that, is a pain. There will be stories that I won't see for 2 or 3 days, but that are fairly important. So I don't know how to fix that. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm talking in circles. Facebook is just a pain to deal with, and I used to be able to trust it more on finding stories to talk about and different situations to talk about. Again, I just fell out of the loop. I don't know what's going on, and I can't really continue a podcast or any type of show that would just be me, talking. I'm not that informed to begin with. I'm not an educator. I'm not, I've had maybe 4 or 5 years of experience with bunnies. I've never worked in a shelter. I've never worked with a rescue. I've adopted, obviously, but I've not fostered. So I have very little experience compared to the thousands of other people that could do this show. So the pile on of that, I would be even more talking out of my ass if I didn't know at least what was going on in the community. So that's the reason. I think it's just, and I believe it deserves a finale. So that's what this is. It's just me, no guests. I'm not a huge fan of when like a TV show. I'm a fan of bad endings, and the most bothersome thing is like when a TV show gets just canceled in the middle of the season, or they're not informed in the beginning of the season that's going to be the last one, and there's obvious cliffhangers at the end of that season, and then it's like, oh, it's been canceled by the so-and-so network. So I find that stuff personally kind of frustrating, because the fans are just kind of left hanging there. Well, what could have happened? How could have, what would have happened to these characters? What would have happened to that storyline that was just hanging out there? So I personally thought, even though it is way after the fact that I made the post about the final episode coming, to at least do a final recording. Oh my gosh, and we're only not even 7 minutes in. So it would take me forever to talk about every single episode. 1 second. And so if you listen to the podcast before, thank you. I'm going to be saying thank you a lot towards the end of the show. If you listen to any episodes before, they were on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. I think the only thing that's left is the YouTube channel. It's not that I think. I know it is. I actually looked it up right before the recording, and I took some notes down based off those recordings. I looked it up on iTunes and couldn't find it, so I don't know if iTunes has some kind of uploading. If I haven't uploaded to iTunes since January, so maybe if there's like a long break and the show isn't popular enough, then they just delete it. I don't know. I couldn't find it. I was literally not getting any results. So the YouTube channel is, of course, still there if you want to listen to any previous episodes, and I'm going to talk about a few of them shortly here. By means, go ahead and check them out. Just to talk about the podcast before we get into the guests and some of the topics that we covered, I always went for just education in different varieties, whether we talked about rescues, whether we talked about events like Midwest Bunfest or Southeast Bunfest, or we talked about different rescue situations. 30 bunnies were, an example, 30 bunnies were saved from a lab or a hoarding situation. And so this is how you guys can help them out. We had people that incorporate bunnies with their artwork, and just different organizations. I'm going to go into them right now. First ever episode was with Ann Martin, the executive director of the House Rabbit Society. She was a saint for that recording, because it was my first ever one. I didn't know what I was doing, and she was super informal, super sweet. If anyone is listening to this and has gotten to meet her, I'm assuming she's like that in person. She's awesome. I had Dustin on for an episode. I wanted to talk about Penny Collins for a minute. She was I believe the guest for the third ever episode, if I remember correctly, second or third. I'm recording this shortly after we all saw the news of Sammy's passing, and it sucks. It sucks to see all three of them gone. Penny is amazing. She does great work. I don't know if she gets anything out of it financially or not. It's none of my business either way, but the work that she puts in, that's so relatable, it entertains, it educates. It's amazing. It's inspiring. And I feel for her, having lost all three of them, and, not to put one above the other at all. I would never do that. But, Sammy was such a entertaining, hilarious vocal point in so many of those comic strips. I'm talking about regarding comic. And it just sucks. And I feel for her, and it was awesome to see the overwhelming support that she received in the different groups and through Bunny's Eye when we posted about her. I was going to post something on Facebook. Dustin said some very nice things about, her and about, Sammy's passing. So I just wanted to say something because Penny, if you listen to this at all, always been an inspiration for the show to tie in education and sharing information through an art form. And thank you very much, Penny, for what you do for the community. Okay. So I had Dustin on. We talked about Bunny's Eye. I had the representative, I believe her name was Alicia, with the Not Just for Easter campaign. I hope you guys check that out. That campaign starts up usually in late winter, early spring, right before Easter rolls around. So check them out. Make Mine Chocolate. Here's a good. I'm not gonna go through every single guest. I just kind of wrote down some ones that might have stood out to people that have listened before, and that they've liked it. One that stood out was the Breeder's Perspective episode, where someone who wasn't a current breeder but had done show breeding in the past and their perspective on how they're viewed. And what the right ways, I shouldn't say the right ways, but what they view as the right ways of breeding and taking care of their bunnies. There's been this divide, and I still see it in the groups, and I'm not siding with breeding at all. I just thought it was important to have, you gotta, no matter what, in an argument or in a very crucial situation, you have to listen to both sides of the party. You know what I mean? So, again, and she was very sweet. I think it was Catherine. Her name was Catherine. I haven't talked to her in a very long time, but she was very sweet to come on and talk about, show breeding, what it was like, the environment at like a show where people brought their bunnies, they openly did breeding, and, what they... She even talked about, what I remember off the top of my head, keeping them healthy. If someone brought a bunny to a show that looked, didn't look nourished, it didn't look healthy, then they would talk to them about continuing breeding and all that other stuff. So it was to me, a very educational, informative, informative episode of the breeding side of things. And if you hate me for even having someone on that used to do it, again, she doesn't do it anymore, that's fine. The show's not going on anymore anyway. But I thought it was very important to at least hear what goes on and how things are viewed on that side. Because again, it's been this two-sided divided coin for a very, very long time, way before my time, between rescues and breeders. So we talked about, I think I talked about this in the beginning. We previewed different bun fests. I know Midwest was one of them. We had an episode with the rabbit doctor, Jerry Skinner. She's out of, Australia, I believe. I could be wrong. I believe Australia. There's a massive time zone difference. She was amazing to talk about. She answered your guys' questions. People emailed questions into the show. I read them verbatim. Some of them were really long, but she was very sweet. And then I thought of maybe 3 or 4 generic questions to ask her that some people might have. I know one of them I talked about is stasis. Another one that I talked about was what are some of the most common mistakes that rabbit parents make. So definitely I think that is, as far as rabbit health is concerned, definitely the most informative episode. It's a really good listen. I hope you guys go back and check that out. A local rescue here. I talked to 2 of them. Representatives from 2 of them. House Rabbit Society of Chicago and a representative with Red Door Animal Shelter. They're amazing. I just include those in because those are locals. For me, I'm in the state of Illinois, just outside of the Chicagoland area and then the suburbs. But those are very close, and both rescues do amazing work. So I thought I'd give those guys a shout out that we had them on. Covered different rescue situations, as I said before. You know, if a rescue needed support after like a lab situation or a hoarding situation, then we had those people on to get the word out. We had a representative with the Sweet Bunny Project. I don't know if you guys have ever come across the artwork with the bunny that's flying with like the superhero cape. They do. I think his name was Brian. That was a very fun episode. We even like. I think we kind of thought about doing like how amazing it would be for Penny and Brian of Sweet Bunny Project. I think his name is Brian. I could be wrong. I apologize. To do like a mashup of something with the regarding comic strip, and then the Super Bunny comes in and saves the day or something like that. It never came to be, but it was just something we talked about for a little bit. I had a representative on with the Rabbit Haven, and oh man, this fun one. So I hyped up, as I'm sure many of you did as well, the Watership Down Netflix series. I had a plan to review each episode and then go over it with you guys. You know, if you like a show, Walking Dead, I'm just thinking of popular ones off the top of my head. Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, even though that's over now. Trying to think some of the, you know what I mean? There are YouTubers on top of YouTubers that cover that stuff, and that's kind of where the idea came from, to do reviews of those episodes. And Netflix originally had, and I'm not 100% blaming them, but I kind of am, had originally aimed to release those episodes in 2017 or 8. I don't know. They were like literally like a year off from where they were planning to release them. So I had this big plan in like January of last year or whatever to do the episodes, and then they just never released them up until like 8 months later after that fact. So I never did get around to watching it. I did read a couple of reviews shortly after it did, and I did still consider covering those episodes, but I actually went on, different House Rabbit Society pages and other pages, and there was not very much talk about it. So if you're listening to this on your guys' end, you guys didn't seem too, eager to go out and watch it. The reviews, some of the reviews that I've read were kind of mixed. I was personally very excited for it because, one, it's Netflix. Their original content is pretty good, and two, their voice cast was really, really good. I know McAvoy was one of them. John Boyega from the new Star Wars movies was another voice actor on that. Man, I'm drawing the blank on the other one who's definitely going to be the voice of the villain, and I can't remember his name. He was the villain in Iron Man 2. Man, I can't forget his name. So yeah, I was pretty optimistic that the show was going to be pretty good. Again, maybe it is good, and I'm not I'm not giving it a review now saying it's bad just based off other reviews. I'm just saying that there wasn't that much buzz about it after it was released. I'm checking Twitter, I'm checking Facebook and other different social media outlets, and there wasn't much going on. So that was a whole fiasco. I just wanted to clear the air on that because, again, I had a plan to cover all those episodes, and it just kind of got botched. Again, when I do I've done plenty of solo recordings, but when I do these solo ones, I tend to lose my voice a little more. Okay. So personally, if you followed us on Twitter, yes, Twitter. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. I did some videos, some live feed videos, posting with Chunks and Nova. They're those are my two bunnies. And they're both, well, Nova is doing pretty well. She's her normal self. And I'm not trying to bring the podcast down at all by bringing up my personal situation, but just in case anyone is curious, Chunks' health is on the decline. So again, I didn't want to bring it down. I didn't want to talk too much about it with a personal situation of mine. But yeah, his health is declining. We recently got word of his health declining. So it sucks, but he's still his normal self, which is a positive. He's still doing, it's hard to say he's doing okay, but at least he's acting normal and, being his normal self with us. So just wanted to talk about them for a minute, just in case you ever follow them on Twitter. Again, this is my bunnies, Chunks and Nova. So this is going to be way shorter than I thought this might go like a half hour to 45 minutes, but this is going to be way shorter than I envisioned, which is fine. The shorter episodes tend to get more views because it's easier for people to listen to. Go figure. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I hope you guys continue, like in my ending here, continue to support Bunnysign and their amazing work that they do. Please just keep sharing, their comic pages, or the comic, I'm sorry. All right, deep breath. All right. Please keep sharing their posts and telling your friends about them. If you have friends in the rabbit community, please keep telling them. We just have a goal of trying to help rescues out through our views and such, trying to get sponsors to help out rescues. And it all starts with you guys following it. The following has gone up. The downloads, the download counter or whatever has gone up. I don't know if it's gone up every single month or not, but I know it's been getting better, and I just have to say thank you for you guys for continuing to support us. There's a lot of work that comes in from the team, from many different people. We don't personally make any money on doing Bunnysign, and it's part of the reason why I'm not doing the podcast anymore. It's really hard when you're an adult. You have other things going on in life to commit to something, and that's why you guys should continue keep supporting Bunnysign, because it's hard to keep doing something like this where there's no financial gain at all. I had an idea where I could continue the podcast through like a Patreon kind of way. If you listen to a podcast, they most likely have a Patreon, because if they don't have a lot of advertising support, then they most likely have a Patreon account where you could donate to their show. And usually on that Patreon account that you support, you would get exclusive content, which was kind of my idea, but it never came to fruition. Again, and then that's not the goal of Bunnysign. I don't want to take that away from Bunnysign, but I'm just emphasizing that fact that we don't make anything off this, of doing this magazine. And I just hope you guys appreciate that fact, and all that all these people are doing this work, this team of people that have come together from all over the world to put this magazine together every month. It's truly a really special thing that I hope you guys continue to appreciate and support. For anyone who's listened to this or a previous episode, if you go check them out, thank you for the support. That's all I could really say. If you sent me an email once and talked about something on the show, thank you for, I just wanted people to mostly check out my guests. I just wanted the guests. I wanted them to be the star of the show. Every once in a while I got a little emotional, or raise my voice, but talk louder because I'm going crazy over a topic. But I just wanted you guys to support the guests, because they those are really the stars of the show, are the guests, because they brought in so much information. So I really hope that if you scroll through the YouTube channel, if there's something you want to listen to, then, there's something that sticks out, then definitely give it a listen. And thank you guys. Again, I really, really, really appreciate it. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, sorry. Let's drink another sip of water. Voice is starting to crack again. I can't talk in these long, consistently talk in these long periods. And just as a side note, I don't really need to say this really to everyone listening, but do what you can to support your local rescues and shelters, whether it's if you can donate, whether you can foster, whether you can adopt, or if you can just share a post or like a post. Some of your friends might see it if you like it, So, again, do what you can to support those guys. They really need it, and it just goes a long way in, supporting their cause. And getting to be fortunate to talk to some of these people in rescue for this show, and not even on the show, just exchanging emails. I got lucky to talk to some of these people for 5-10 minutes before the recording, and we got to talk about different situations going on. What's going on at their rescue. What have they had to deal with in the prior to that recording, and etc. So I got to at least learn what some of them go through, and it's a lot. It's a lot. They go through a lot. There's some good days and there's some bad days. So definitely, keep supporting them. Take care of them when you can. So, thank you for listening. This is the grand finale, Bunny's Eye BZCast. I'm your host, Randy. Thank you.